Hi folks, Sam from Western Audio here. I wanted to share something cool with you today. I recently had the pleasure of mixing a live performance of a great band. The audio was well recorded, but the live setup meant that I only had a DI'd acoustic guitar to fit in with the rest of the band mix. It didn't sound great. It was thin, it was nasal like DIs tend to be. It stood out like a sore thumb. So I put my thinking cap on. How could I turn this into something that approached the sound of a mic'd acoustic guitar? Right, let's have a look. First of all, let's hear the original signal. Not very nice, but we can improve on it, and I'm going to use a couple of Logic X's stock plugins. I'm going to use Space Designer, which is a convolution reverb that works using impulse responses, and Match EQ. Let's take a look at Space Designer first of all. So like I said, Space Designer is usually used as a reverb, and what an impulse response is it takes the characteristic of a sound of a real life space or piece of equipment. So if we go through the usual presets in here, we've got things like rooms and halls, bits of equipment like spring reverbs as well, and it works really, really nicely. However, I'm going to do something slightly different. I've got a set of impulse responses of a Gibson J15 acoustic guitar that's been mic'd up. I got those from 3 Sigma Audio. They cost me $10, so it's not particularly expensive. You get a bunch of different sounds in there, and you just basically create a preset within Space Designer for those, and you can start to do what we're doing here. So I've chosen one that I've named Gibson 15P803A. You can name it whatever you want. And all I've done, I've taken the dry signal out completely over here, put the reverb, in inverted commas, signal up to maximum, and not touched anything else. So again, here's the original signal, and I'll pop Space Designer on and we can hear what it does. So it's a bit better. It still doesn't sound massively like a mic'd acoustic guitar, but it is a lot more resonant. It doesn't sound as thin and weedy as the DI'd signal. So obviously that's not quite good enough. We want to take that a bit further. So we're going to look at Match EQ. Match EQ is a clever bit of kit. It's an equalizing module that allows you to learn the current signal and reference the frequency response of a different signal and then match the two. Okay, don't know how it does it, some kind of magic I'm sure, but what is important is it does really work. You can use this for loads of different things like mastering, correcting room modes on your mixes if you're going to be mastering your own stuff, and maybe we can look at that in another video. But what I'm doing here is now to take my DI'd guitar with Space Designer on it, and then I'm going to apply a reference signal of an actual mic'd guitar, and then we're going to match the two. So first thing that we want to do is go over to, I'll turn the plugin on first of all, go over to current, click learn, and I'm just going to play a segment. The more you can play of this, the better. You can actually drag the original audio file in there, but I want it to learn the sound that's already there with Space Designer. So we're going to have a little listen to this. Okay, so given it, see it's captured the overall frequency curve of our current signal. Now for our reference signal, I'm going to drag in, like I said before, I'm going to drag in a previously mic'd up acoustic guitar. I've actually chosen a guitar that I've mic'd up that's similar to a Gibson J15, so we're going to get hopefully going to get something that is, you know, useful, that's going to work. So I'm going to drag this in, put it over the reference box, and you can see it thinks about it, and there we've got our reference. So our current signal there, our reference one there, and we just click match, and we end up with this crazy wiggly line. Now there's areas here where it's cutting out a lot of bass and adding a load of treble, and this is usually happens with these things where we've got maybe too much bass on our original signal and not enough treble here. You've got a little box up here for fading the extremes. If we do that, the chances are it's not going to make much of a difference to the sound by doing that, but it just isn't boosting loads of treble artifacts that aren't really there. So I've taken that down. You can adjust how much of this you want to do. Okay, I'm just going to start on 0, so we're going to hear the sound as it was. You know, take the plugin on. It doesn't sound any different. But now, using the application slider here, I'm going to start to move this up. So I tend to find smaller amounts of this that work quite well. So let's start at about 50%. And what I'll do is I'll just play around with it, bypass it, and hopefully you can hear the difference. Pretty good. At least I think that sounds pretty good. Let's have a listen to when the strumming gets a little bit heavier later on. You can actually hear a little bit of vocal bleed through there, which is kind of interesting. Let's just take those plugins off to see where we started. I think that's pretty interesting. It's never going to totally replace miking up a guitar, but if you haven't got the option to do it, it's at least going to turn it into something that's a lot more pleasing on the ear. You know, the rest of the session that I was mixing, everything was mic'd up lovely, great guitar sounds great, drum sounds, great vocalist. The only weak link was that DI'd acoustic, and once I'd done this little trick with it, it sat in the mix beautifully. I could process this adjusted signal just like a normal acoustic guitar, and it was great. So, you know, let me know what you think. Obviously this is quite a Logic centric tip. I'm sure there are similar techniques you can use in Pro Tools or Ableton or whatever DAW you're using. Let me know in the comments. Give it a like, subscribe, share it around. I hope this has been useful, and catch you again sometime soon.